you an author, a writer, an artist, a painter, a sketcher, someone who has some sort of creative pursuit no matter what it be? And if so, do you remember the very first time you actually tried to hone your craft? Do you remember the very first time you took it seriously and tried to create something worth, I don't know, selling to people, making people pay for? Because I do, and like most creatives, it wasn't good. Hi, and welcome back to Orbiting the Shelf. As always, I am Matt, you are the audience, and I appreciate you clicking on this video. Today, I am letting ChatGPT give me its absolutely unfiltered, harshest critical opinion on the first book I ever wrote. Now, if you're aware, most authors go through like anywhere from 3 to 8 fully finished books before a publisher or an agent picks them up and goes, yeah, this is work worth putting out into the world. It was the year of our Lord, 2020, or 2021 maybe, and I was a young man fresh out of the army. I had big dreams and I was heading off to college, and I thought to myself, what am I gonna do with my life? Well, I had always had a knack for writing, and my very first elective ever was a creative writing class. And towards the end of that class, we had to write a short story to share with everybody. And I wrote an absolutely shamelessly melodramatic short story about a Viking who doesn't remember his name.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Gibby.
She doesn't speak English.
I'm still Gibby.
And I read it to the class, and all of the aspiring authors straight out of high school told me, that's amazing. If you turn this into a book, I would read it. And that's when it clicked. I had always been someone who loved reading. I had been writing random short stories my whole life since I was in elementary school. This 18-year-old kid fresh out of high school knows what he's talking about. I should be an author. So it's winter break, and I sit down to write this story, and I feel like my fingers are on fire. No idea is a bad idea. I am a genius. I am the second coming of J.R.R. Tolkien. I am George Martin if he had the discipline and creativity to finish his books. I am Stephen King without the cocaine. And so I sit down at my laptop and I just hammer out every single idea that comes into my mind. No shame, no editing, just pure, unadulterated world building from the mind of a 21-year-old. And somewhere around 16,000 words in, I quit. School started back up, and I thought to myself, you know what? Writing a whole book is way too hard. I'm gonna go ahead and just call it. I'm gonna go ahead and finish school and enter the world of adults and make a lot of money and get hired at a real job. Well, that obviously didn't work out too well, and I am back to being an author with a YouTube channel. Shout out to the 20 old people who really like to watch my videos. Thank you. Well, I just finished my most recent book. I've been editing and polishing and getting ready to dive into the submission trenches, and this has me feeling nostalgic. I thought to myself, I'm gonna go back and reread the first thing I ever actually wrote. And let me tell you, the shame and the cringe is incredibly strong. Now, without further ado, here is the first chapter of the first thing I had ever written. God, I'm so scared to share this. Embrace of the Endless Ocean. Our hero's journey begins on the Skengen Isles. How original, that's definitely not just Skellige from The Witcher 3. West of the Auden Mountains of the mainland, cast from home and clan, he drifts to the mysterious, gray, bereft land. Name and title he seeks, but darkness and pain around every corner creeps. Vahil's journal. Oh God. The cold wind swept through the man's sandy beard, flakes of snow nestling gently into it as he stared out over the sea, stroking his axe against his hand, just sitting there stroking it.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit.
The sharp edge cutting his skin. He was ready to set out and restore what he had lost. You might wonder what this man's name is, or where his purpose lies. The truth is, it does not matter. Forget plot. I'm telling you in the first paragraph that you're getting no such thing from me. Whatever this book is about, you're gonna sit here and listen to this melodrama. The truth is, it does not matter. He had no name, and the Norns had forsaken him. He had no clan anymore, no destiny. It mattered not to him where he laid his head or hung his shield. He was a stranger to the land he once called home, with nothing to his person but this beaten old shield and a worn axe. And of course, this half-rotten old fishing boat. Giving the snow-laden mountains of his homeland a last look goodbye, he set his boot against the old fishing boat and pushed it away from shore. It was time. Time for something new. Or perhaps just time to drift away and let the current decide his fate. Yes, that sounded like a good idea, letting the current decide his fate. Hopping in the boat as it drifted away, he stared to the sky. The man knew not if he wanted to scream at the heavens in rage of the fate cast upon him, or lack thereof, or if he wanted to give up and drift off into the fray of the unknown. Oh my god, the cringe is absolutely unbearable. There comes a certain freedom of not having a destiny anymore. A certain freedom came with knowing you had no name, and in knowing even the Norns had forsaken the twine of your mortal fate. The man had no legacy, and in so, he also had no strife, no worry, and no hardships to burden his mind. He would drift off into obscurity in that half-rotten fishing boat, letting the sea decide what becomes of him. The man laid his head onto the cold, wet boards of the fishing boat, staring out into the gray clouds as he drifted away into the unknown. He was disturbed by the notion of no longer having a name or fate, although he was almost comforted by it as well. Good lord, how many times do I have to tell you that? I was like, you know what? This book is far too subtle. I'm doing way too much showing and not telling. I gotta tell the audience a couple of times to really hammer home the fact that this guy has no name, doesn't know what the story is, and is alone. As you could tell, I was a master of prose and subtlety. And the man also realized he was tired. Closing his eyes and feeling the small flakes of snow find shelter in his eyelashes, the slow rocking of the boat easing him into a deep sleep. Not the kind of sleep a normal man knows. A deep slumber full of dark and nothingness. For a man with no name and no fate cannot dream. But a man with no dreams is also a man with no terrors of the night. He's really torn apart and hurting and in pain and racked with trauma, but he sleeps like a baby and has absolutely no nightmares, even though he's absolutely crushed inside and withering away. Alright, I think I've had enough torturing you guys with a sample. Let's just go ahead and jump into the video. Alright, I went ahead and dropped the file into my ChatGPT here, and I prompted it to give me a harsh and critical review. Praise only what's amazing and harshly criticize everything that sucks. Spoiler alert, there are absolutely no positives to this 15,000 word abomination. It immediately starts off with, absolutely diabolical. The sheer melodramatic Viking fantasy edgelord energy is chef's kiss. Here's a list of my top critiques. Number 1, this isn't a book. It's a Skyrim loading screen that got way too full of itself. Every sentence sounds like it should be etched into stone and read by a depressed ghost.
People look at me as soon as I walk in and they're like, who is this guy? I look like I'm going to hurt somebody. I don't look like I walk into a place and I'm just coming to have a good time, or I'm coming to eat lunch.
I'm pretty sure I'm just looking at future Goodreads reviews for my first book. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Vikings were like super popular back from like 2016 to 2021. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is gonna sell. People love Vikings. In fact, the title of the book is legitimately just something I stole from the Amon Amarth album. And if you recognize the first paragraph, it's because it's literally just the lyrics to the song. I don't know how I thought that was gonna like make it past a single agent ever. I don't know where I was going with any of this. Number 2, it's like you tried to write The Northman, but forgot the plot and just added a bunch of poetic sad guy monologues. The whole thing reads like someone shoved The Witcher into the bell jar and hit blend. That's brutal, man. I'm not sure if my ego is gonna come away from this quite the same. Number 3, our main character has no name, no fate, no personality. He's basically a Nordic Tumblr post. You could replace him with a log and the story would still work. That one's not even funny, it's just cruel. Number 4, half this book reads like it was written specifically to be tattooed on the ribs of a 17-year-old who just discovered Nietzsche. He had no name and even less Wi-Fi. Not the scrawling rib tattoo text. Dang. My ChatGPT actually hates me. It's okay. Clearly I have a humiliation kink. It's why I do YouTube and write books nobody will ever read. I'm an avoidant who grew up in an abusive family, so this is how you get through to me. Praise simply doesn't work. Number 5, this man has no clan, no destiny, no will to live, but he does have a fishing boat and an axe he keeps lovingly stroking like a sentient ex-girlfriend. I knew that line about stroking the axe was gonna be bad, dude. As soon as I reread that, I was like, Why? Why did I say it like that? This is Viking fanfic for people who are going through their dark forest sad boy phase. I need some water for all these burns. Number 6. It's not so much as plot as it is a series of increasingly vague traumas set in a land of infinite mud and tragic metaphor. I think even the trees are emotionally unavailable. Nah, if I finished the book, it definitely all would have wrapped up perfectly. It's a slow burn, like a Brandon Sanderson novel. All the good stuff comes at the end. I promise. Number 7. There is so much brooding in this book. Brooding while rowing, brooding while sleeping, brooding while being attacked by monsters. At one point, the man broods so hard, he physically hallucinates a sentient raven to narrate his trauma arc. 8. And the raven, Vahil, he's supposed to be a poetic skald, but he acts like your weird uncle who took one improv class and now won't shut up. He's the only bird in literature who roasts people harder than I do. You know what? No, this is good. I'm glad I'm going through this now and building thick skin, so whenever my first book does come out, I'm already used to it. Number 9. This fantasy world is so bleak, so aggressively miserable. It makes the road look like the Muppets Take Manhattan. There's not a single happy meal in the entire book. Just herrings, grief, and the occasional severed child. What? I don't remember that. I had to have read something wrong in there. See, I don't know how people trust AI to write books for them, because literally it can't even like successfully read like the first 2 chapters of this book without something up. Maybe it is in there. I don't know. I was 21 and kind of dumb, so maybe I was like, you know what? This hits. This is what dark fantasy is all about. If you just write about horrific things, it makes a good dark fantasy book. More gore just equals a better horror book. Nat Cassidy. Number 10. I kept waiting for something to happen, then bam, a deer-headed flesh puppet monster shows up in chapter 3. Like we skipped rising action and went straight into folk horror eldritch breakdancing. I guess I don't even remember what my book was about, because I don't remember that at all. Dude, what was I on? What in the world? Number 11. Reading this felt like someone read The Odyssey, Beowulf, and their ex's diary and said, yeah, oh no. Someone heard me laughing and just screamed at the f***ing door until I let him in. Look at this little needy son of a bitch. Speaking of f***ing monsters, look at this bowling ball of a Maine Coon I have. This is my anxiety-ridden little monster I adopted from the shelter. Alright, go sleep with your brother or something. Alright, number 11. Reading this felt like someone read The Odyssey, Beowulf, and their ex's diary and said, yeah, I could do worse. Spoiler, I did. I'm afraid to put my current work in this chat and see what it says. Number 12. There's a line where the main character literally thinks, yes, letting the current decide my fate sounds like a good idea. This man gave up harder than my high school algebra teacher trying to get me to pass. You know what's funny? This is a completely AI-generated response, but it hits home because I actually failed high school algebra like twice. Shout out Miss Cook and her hissing cockroaches. When you failed that woman's class, she would make you clean her tank of like hissing Madagascar cockroaches. I cleaned that tank quite a few times. Number 13. The axe isn't just a weapon. It's his entire personality. I'm shocked there isn't a flashback where he cradles it like a baby and whispers, "You're all I have left." I admittedly do draw like a lot of attention to that for some reason. 14. This isn't grimdark, it's grim pink. So emo it circles back into being beautiful. It reads like a breakup letter to fate itself, written while listening to black metal in the shower. Well, that's rude. I was really going through it when I got out of the army, dude. I must have been just like so angry and sad that it made its way into like my shitty short stories. 15. This book is the literary equivalent of someone wearing a wolf pelt at a Renaissance fair and saying, "You wouldn't understand my pain. I was born for the longhouse." He's for the longhouse, ladies. Don't give him a chance. He's for the oars. You can't fix him. Number 16. Every female character in this book is either a cryptic witch, a mystical corpse, or a ravenous hallucination that tries to eat the main character's soul mid-flirt. It's giving men right women energy, but with extra meat and trauma. At least it passes the Bechdel test, I guess? 17. You created a world so haunted, so depressing, that even the demons are like, damn bro, you good? At one point, a tree grows from a man's misery. That's not a metaphor. That's Tuesday in this world. Look, alright? That's not quite accurate. That's not quite what happens, alright? Taking it out of context. 18. The forest guardian literally just shows up, vibes silently, hands him a glowing stick and disappears. That's not a quest. It's the fantasy equivalent of being handed a group project by someone who ghosts you on day one. Oh, the pacing was really good in this book, I promise. 19. You know it's bad when the raven has more emotional depth than the human. Vahil is over here grieving, joking, having philosophical crises, and the man is like, brooding noises. 20. This entire saga feels like if someone tried to adapt Dark Souls into a bedtime story, but every time they open the book, they summon a new trauma, and somehow that's the plot. Oh man, what a wake-up call. Goodness gracious, that was hard to read. It's hard on my fragile male ego. I'm a good artist, I swear, alright? I'm a master of my craft. I know what I'm doing. No one can see the potential in this book yet, but it's there. Would you believe me if I said I got an A for that short story? Well, because the book was based off of a one-chapter short story I had to submit. Maybe the teacher just saw the potential in me. ChatGPT refuses to. I had to take my glasses off so I couldn't see the cringe anymore. If you want to see more of this, let me know. There's like 6 more chapters in that book we could go through. Sorry to trouble your mind with this. I hope you can still sleep tonight. Read something good to wash the aftertaste of this out of your mouth. If you made it through the whole video, thank you so much. As always, like and subscribe. I always appreciate it. I love talking to every single one of you, but that's going to be my time today. I'll see you next time. Bye.